of things can happen. All right, we are live and right on time. Welcome, welcome everybody to Live Real Talk with Nina. That's moi. And today I have the fabulous, amazing, and very funny Elaine Williams with me from Captivate the Crowd. And she's also a video marketer. As I just said to her, we have some overlap, but we also have a lot of different areas that we cover. So this is going to be a really interesting conversation. Welcome, Elaine. Thanks for being here.
Oh, thanks, Nina. Thanks for having me. And, for the people, if you're not familiar with my work, I'll just do a super quick background. When I was 4, no, I'm just kidding.
When I was born.
I love to tell people, well, they'll come to a comedy show and I'll say, okay, I'm going to do my one-woman show. It's only 3 hours. And their eyes go, and I go, I'm just kidding. Oh, no. Right. So, the short version, grew up performing professionally, music, dance, singing, theater, voiceover, commercials, movies, moved to New York City and got sober at the same time, which I would never recommend, but that's how I did it. And I sort of fell into stand-up comedy and got trained to be a life coach, spent 5 years working with Debbie Ford, got 1 hour of marketing, and then fell into speaking on college campuses. Mm-hmm. And even though I loved being with the kids and part of me loves the travel, and I realized I'm supposed to be on bigger stages. And so I started Captivate the Crowd because I know how hard it is to put yourself out there. Yeah. And a lot of people who are great public speaking freeze in front of the camera and vice versa. And it is there, there's some overlap, and there's some distinctions too. Yeah. And I feel like I'm here to help the helpers, because I know so many amazing coaches, healers, therapists who are doing amazing work, but they're helping 40 people a year. And I'm like, why not 40,000?
Right.
And that's one of the cool things is, you can do video and you can record it. And then people can be taking your class in Australia or Japan, or I had a client in Luxembourg, so that to me is the power of the camera, which clearly you know about too. But that's a little bit about how I got where I am doing what I'm doing now.
What I find really fascinating is that we come from very different backgrounds. I mean, still within the entertainment industry, but I come from a film, like strictly filmmaker background. I always was a producer my entire career. I mean, I started as a production assistant, of course.
Right. But, we always get the coffee for the person who gets the coffee for the person who gets the coffee
who cleans the toilet. Right. And I actually literally was a craft service person on my first couple of features I worked on. And that was getting the coffee for the coffee maker. So I come from that background. You come from a performing and enabling and teaching background, and yet we kind of are sitting at a very similar spot, where I learned over the last 5 years of doing what I'm doing now, which is video marketing, that you can teach people all sorts of really great things, and you can teach it to them really fast. But the one thing where everybody just goes like and is stuck is the mindset around showing up, right? And I mean, to your point, I had a TEDx speaker. She was a documentary filmmaker herself. She was phenomenal, and she couldn't get herself on video, just couldn't. And it took me like a year to get a video out of her. I finally did, and I don't think she's done one since. It was just being a speaker does not mean you are also good on video. So I would love to start there, actually, because I think for a lot of people that feel comfortable in the speaking world since pandemic are stuck behind the screen. So how do you approach them? How do you work with them?
Great question. Yes. And when I first started doing live video, I was used to comedy. So I was like, hey, everybody. And my friends were like, you're making me dizzy. And so, one of the biggest things is remembering to plant and really make love to the camera. So if you need to put your dog, Raggedy Ann, a teddy bear, like you can do a picture, you can do a vision board, you can do something that makes you laugh, just to help you remember that you're not speaking to the whole world wide web. You're having a conversation with one person. And, I learned that doing commercials in the 80s and 90s. Like, so you're just leaning in and talking to your best friend about her bad breath. Have you tried Colgate? Right? Remember that? And so just, and you know what? It takes a little practice. So I think the biggest thing is like, you're going to be uncomfortable. You're going to feel awkward. You know how to get through that? You keep doing it, and you practice, and you keep doing it. And sometimes you need to watch yourself, or maybe at least listen to yourself and think about the way you want to make a difference. And when you come from the inside out, I think that's always better than, oh, how do I, a vanity kind of thing. So if you can come from your commitment to making a difference, if you can come from, why did you start your business? What, who have you helped? Whose life have you saved? And when you come from that place, then like, who are you not to share your gifts?
Exactly. Yeah. I think that's a great way of looking at it. I normally, where I start with my people is that I get them sort of talking about what pisses them off about their industry, because when I ask people, what is your unique selling proposition or unique selling point, you get these sort of, including me, these like, 30 years in business and. But if you say to somebody, what pisses you off about your industry, normally you can't shut them up, right? Because they have a long list of things that they're going to do different, and it pisses them off that people do this and that. I'm like, that's your unique selling proposition. That is what you can talk about on your videos, right? That's where you are different than everybody else. So
I love that.
Yeah.
Yes. That's a great point.
And with the making love to the camera, just a really quick story, because it reminds me of that. I was working on this commercial in Geneva. They had brought me in because, Swiss production company, American advertising agency, didn't go well. So they brought me in, and it was a commercial with Sophia Loren. And she was like 71 or 2 at the time, and she wouldn't travel, which is why they ended up in Geneva, which is where she lives. And, I had a couple of quick interactions with her, super professional, super lovely. And then she came on set, and oh my God, the camera, like there was like, quiet on set, roll, action. And did she make love to the camera? It was like, I was like, whew. And this is like a commercial, right?
You're like, I need a cigarette.
Yeah, I was like, I don't want to be the cameraman right now, because I'm sure he's folding one leg over the other. It was amazing. And I was like, wow, that's what makes a superstar, right? That level of commitment to the camera and making love to the camera was like unbelievable.
What a beautiful story. And
so you don't have to be Sophia Loren,
right, but she's one of the most beautiful women ever in the history of the world.
Right.
But you know what? She probably didn't wake up that way. She probably got to practice and got to practice and got to practice. And so, yes, some people ooze charm more than others. But it's a skill. You can practice looking into the camera. You can practice who you're being, and you can practice your intention. And so a lot of that, you can make it better.
Yep.
So what a great story. Thank you. I love that.
Yeah, I just thought of that because I love your advice, making love to the camera. I mean, that is just so to the point, right? It's absolutely to the point. So how do you work with your clients to help them, feel that love? Like do you do exercises with them? Is it just really just practice? Do you have secrets that you can
I spent $1 million on voice lessons growing up. Whoa, doing all the things. And now I use all of that and my 2 degrees in drama. I help use that for my people. And I just got another testimonial that I need to write up. But my client was like, oh my God, you have no idea what you unlocked inside of me. You helped me become this character, this somebody bigger than I am. And so I really think my work is I help women, mostly women and a few smart men, give themselves permission.
Thank you.
To be seen, to be loud and proud, and to be bold, and to stand for, this is who I am. This is the work that I do. I'm very proud of it. It saves lives. And join me. Or if this resonates, let's connect. And guess what? You're going to make some people mad because you're being bolder and you're cutting through.
Yep.
But I always think, wouldn't you rather be making a difference? And then some people are going to not like you, and and I bump up against this, Nina. I'm a recovering Southerner, for God's sake. We're like, I'm just fine, sugar. How are you? Oh, I'm just fine. I was raised, children should be seen and not heard. And
same year.
And as a woman, I wasn't allowed to be angry. I could cry or be happy.
Yeah.
But I could not be angry. I could not pout. Like, there were certain emotions I was not allowed to have. And I think, unfortunately, it's really, really common. And so part of my work is we do warm-ups, and I'm a big believer in practice and do it and do it and do it and do it. But I find that that's one of the, and can you have some fun with it? Can you add some play? Oh yeah. Are you breathing? People forget to breathe. Americans do not breathe. I think it's common for a lot of people.
I don't think the Swiss breathe much either.
We're like, we hold our breath.
Yeah.
Like, okay, let me try to get it right. And then you're not being yourself. So I'm a big fan of like imperfect action. Let's go.
Love it. Love it. I mean, our experiences are so similar. It's amazing. So I have to ask you, have you ever heard of the term queenager?
Queenager?
Yeah.
No.
So this is super cool. I just came across this a couple of weeks ago, and that's all I'm talking about these days. So there's this woman in England, and she's a former journalist, and her name, of course,
right.
And she's got a Substack called Noon, like middle of the day. And she writes about queenagers, and queenagers are women of a certain age. By definition, I feel they're boomers. Maybe they're Generation X and some boomers. So they're like in their 50s. And they're finally at a point in their lives where they can take care of themselves and actually live into the dreams that they had when they were much younger. Now that the kids are out, they're empty nesters, their husbands are probably busy with their midlife crisis. And we get the menopause, how fair. And then there's just sort of this reawakening of who am I really? What do I want to still do with my life? What is the second or third or whatever chapter of my life going to be? But there's also that fun element with it, where I think that term queenager sort of comes in. So it's, yes, we're the queen, but we also are the teenager or the ager. So
I love it. That totally describes me.
Totally. And I mean, most of my clients are more or less 50-50 male, female. But I mean, even the male side has traits of that, because what it boils down to is that these are people who are not giving themselves permission. As you just said earlier, I use the exact same terminology. You're not giving yourself permission to shine. You're not giving yourself permission to be heard. And that, I find, is a really big part of, yes, of course, how do you look good on camera, and where do the lights go, and where does the microphone go, and all that stuff. But it's really about the mindset and giving yourself permission.
Yes. And I just shot a short form video last week about the camera and the video. Those are just the vehicles.
Exactly.
Because really, that's why I love teaching this stuff, is because it's so much more. It's not just like, okay, put the lights here. Okay, do this, look here, have your 3 points. Yes, all of those, sort of tactical things are important. And when you can break through those inner blocks that are holding you back, or that critic voice, or your evil stepmother's voice in my case, or an ex-boyfriend, or, there's a whole lot of people talking to me sometimes, right? Yeah. And when you can break through that, then you can show up in a different way. And also what I love is when you can practice video, and everybody can, between Zoom, start a Facebook private group, like have a video buddy with your phone. When you can practice it, then it's helping you when you have your elevator pitches. It's helping you when you have your meetings, when you have your one-on-ones, if you're making proposals for a corporation, like, it trickles out all over the place, which is one reason I love transformational work. Nina, I had 3 addictions. I'm an assault survivor. Like, the beginning of my life was pretty rough. And so
Mhm.
I'm always like, ooh, if this is healing, let me try it because it can help me and my clients. So
Right.
I've done a ton of stuff, but I truly believe that helping people reclaim their voice is so empowering,
Yeah.
you know?
And I think the transformation is so key, and I think you and I have had some similar training around that, right? I'm a landmarker myself,
Oh,
and so a lot of talk about not learning something but actually transforming things. And we talk to our clients very clearly about transformation, because we all know we need to go to the gym, but we're not going to the gym. So what do we you need to transform that, not just know it. So
right. Well, yeah. And I mean, when I first came on the college circuit, I was talking about emotional eating. And
yeah,
several people were like, I've never heard anybody talk about with this approach. And I was like, to me, this is it, because
yeah,
we intellectually, what do you need to do to succeed in business? You need to make 10 calls a day. How many people do that, right?
right,
We know how to lose weight. We learned the formula in health class in seventh grade, but
right,
intellectually knowing things doesn't give us access, right? And so
yeah.
to me, that's why, like, I love, you and I do similar work of like, holding somebody's hand and helping them come through whatever their resistance is.
Yeah.
And it's a process.
And also discovering blind spots, and like sometimes, and sometimes it's also that we're all willing and able, but we're maybe speaking into the wrong kind of personality, or into we're doing content that doesn't suit us.
Yes.
Like, so we started a personality quiz, mostly because I just love them so much. I'm like, okay, I want my own personality quiz. And then in doing it, it just opened up so many doors for my business partner and I, because we started seeing our own blind spots in working through the quiz. The quiz has been just a transformation on every set level it's possible could have possibly have been. And it also allowed us to work with our existing clients, where we were all of a sudden we're like, wait a minute. We're like making this poor guy tell all these stories when he has not an ounce of storyteller in him. And we should be working with him on educational content, because
Right.
that's where he absolutely shines. And then the moment you do that and you put that on social media, now your authenticity factor goes through the roof, and you're
Right.
making love to the camera, because you're now either intellectually or just the way your brain is wired, you're now doing what you really are good at, be it that you're motivational, or you're a comic, or you are an educator, whatever. And it just allows you to speak into your happy space, basically.
Yes. I love that. Yeah. Find out what are your strengths.
Yep,
And
for
I
sure.
feel like, and another place, and, ask me how I know, because I have the t-shirt and the bumper sticker, you know, I think sometimes people just try to wing stuff, or they go into analysis paralysis
Yep.
and overthink. And so I always am trying to find the balance for myself, but also my clients. And that's why it's good to help create with somebody. It's good to get
Yep.
help with this. Yeah.
Yep. And so when you work with your clients, I mean, how do you go, how do you approach the sort of the content? Is that something where they already have their content? Is that something that you help them discover with them, or how
That
does
is,
it?
well, I didn't know this about myself till a couple of years ago, but that is one of my superpowers. Like the
Ah,
minute I get on the phone or Zoom with somebody and I ask them about their business, my brain starts going pop rocks. And
okay.
and I get so many creative ideas. You could do this, you could do this, you could show this, you could voice over this, you could,
Yeah.
and so I love, that's one of the services I now offer. And if people take my program, it's part of the program, but I do one-on-one stuff too, and I do have VIP days, because sometimes people just want to come and knock it out. And so, when you're focused and grounded, it's amazing how productive you can be in an hour or two, and you can get tons of authentic, great content that's simple.
Yep.
So I love pulling it out of people. Or I always say you're swimming in your own genius, right? Like we all had to focus when we had to learn how to drive a car. We were very consciously incompetent, and then we practiced and we practiced, and now we drive places and we're like, did I drive here? I don't even remember, right? So
Right.
that's unconsciously competent. And I guarantee, and you and I are probably the same way, of like, you're doing things every day that you think nothing of, but for
Right.
somebody else, it's like, wow. And so I love pointing that out. I'll be like, that's a Facebook Live. That's a short form video series. Stop.
Right.
Are you writing this down?
And series, I think that is also a really, really important point, right? Is that not to put too much information in a single video. And
Right.
I adore my series because you got one topic, you got 10 points to it, and you then get to create a series of videos that will last you for a good while to go.
Yes. Yes. And I like to tell people, it's like chicken nuggets. Like,
Hmm.
you don't want to give them the whole chicken. It's too much. And what if, the goal is to be bingeable, right? And to stop the scroll. And
Yep.
so and all the algorithms would much rather you have short videos that people are watching all of
Right.
than 10-minute videos where people are like, well, this started out great. I got to go walk the dog. Like, what?
Right.
You know?
No, I mean, I don't even click on a video that is longer than 2.5 minutes.
Yeah.
I always feel people are like, oh, yeah, I have a minute, or yeah, I have 2 minutes to listen to something that is of interest to me. But I don't think that anything much longer, unless, your house is on fire and it's a really, 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 really burning issue, people are not going to listen if it's
Right.
longer than that. Yeah.
Right. Good point. Yes.
So tell me about sort of your favorite success stories. I know you have some of them um, on
Ah,
your LinkedIn profile, but I know you have some great stories. So I would love to hear some of those.
it's hard to pick one. So there is a woman named Christine she used to be an accountant, and she's very reserved and sort of, I don't want to say, she just has this voice that was like this when we started working together, and just very sort of low and kind of monotone,
Yeah.
and she loves yoga and she loves healing modalities and meditation. And so I was the coach for a bunch of people doing a reel last fall. And so we would do my warm-ups, and I'd be like, take space, walk around. And this is all through Zoom. I'm like, take up space, give yourself permission, be loud. I want you to feel like you're speaking Shakespeare, and so I would just help them give themselves permission to be loud, be messy. You don't have to be pretty. You can go, right?
Yeah.
And so she kept saying, I'm having breakthroughs. I had another breakthrough, and I'd be like, yay, tell me what. So, so we work on this, we work on our script, we work on just getting her out there, we work on some vocal
Yeah.
variety.
Yeah.
We just watched her finished video because the edits took a while for different reasons. And
Mhm.
I just felt like the proudest mama bear, because
Aw.
she is so passionate, and she's like talking about yoga, and she's got variety, and you can feel her passion for teaching and how much yoga and her training saved her life. And you feel her through the screen. And
Mhm.
I am very clear that's from the work that we did. I
Oh,
mean, the videographer
absolutely.
was great too, but so just like seeing that on screen, somebody come alive,
Yep. Yep.
and to be able to articulate now, and she did the work. I'm just like the messenger. She was willing to do the work and to practice, and I just kind of cheered and pushed and cajoled and stuff.
Gold.
So, so she's one of my favorites. And then
Yeah.
I have this other woman, Candace, who's like a badass. But she's very like, kind of like always sort of together. And
Mhm.
so I do this, and I kept saying, come on, I see you. I have this big vision for you. I see you on big stages. And she'd be like, really? And I'm like, yes. And so I took her through my program, and then we went through some accountability stuff. And then so a few months ago, she said, Elaine, I'm doing a podcast, and it's all your fault. I started my own podcast, and it's all because of you. I'm so scared, but I'm doing it. And she said that I helped her learn how to be brave on a daily basis.
Oh, wow. I mean, that's worth getting out of bed in the morning, isn't it? Yeah.
Yeah, and it's my greatest joy
Yeah.
to
Yeah.
serve people. And because I think, Nina, we all, look at babies. They're like, wow, they are self-expressed, right? The only thing they can do is cry, and they can carry. And
Yeah.
as we're kids, we're like, wow, we're like in the moment. We're not worried about the
Yeah.
past or the future. We're like free. And then we get socialized. Shh, inside voices, don't say that. Don't be greedy. And we learn to lie.
Yeah.
How are you doing? I'm fine. I'm great. Really, which means don't talk to me. I have not had my coffee yet.
Yeah.
Right? Or, I'm doing great.
That's me
I'm
for
doing
the
great. How
first
are you
3
doing?
hours of the day. Yes. Yeah. Don't talk
Right.
to me.
Like if I really told you, I would start to cry because whatever. And so I'm just going to be like, I'm fine. I'm great. Like, all of those social pretenses
Yeah.
because we
Yeah.
don't want to fall apart or people don't really want to know or
No, they don't really want to know, and they don't want to spend 5 minutes listening to you to talk about everything that's going on in your life, good or bad, for that
yeah,
matter, right? Yeah.
right.
Yeah.
And so I did Meisner work. He was a famous acting teacher with Lee Strasberg and
Mhm.
all of
Yeah.
that time. And you do this repetition. And I kept thinking, what does this have to do with acting? But it's really about waking up your body and letting yourself, somebody goes, blue shirt, and letting yourself really feel that energy and then taking it back and saying, blue shirt. And
Yeah.
I mean, it is so powerful. And it's like peeling away the masks and you get super reactive, so it's intense, but I love it, and I love helping people sort of peeling away the masks and giving
Yeah.
themselves permission.
Yeah. I love that. And it really it really rings so true to me right now, and I cannot emphasize enough how important it is. I mean, there's a technicality of video and learning it
Sure.
and getting it down and getting a
Right.
system down that is quick and easy. And as you said earlier, I totally subscribe to this 110%. The tools that we're using are just tools to
Right.
get to the end point, which is the video. So I've been doing video and put myself in front of the camera 4 years ago, maybe even 5 years ago, and I think I'm doing a pretty decent job, and I'm pretty
Yes.
much
I would
myself.
say
And
yes.
when people meet me, they're like, yeah, yeah, you're just like you are on your videos. But then about 2 or 3 months ago, actually the beginning of the year, I lost my writer. There was a young woman who was a theater director, and her career is taking off, in leaps and bounds. So she's no longer working with us, and she did a lot of my writing. And I took my writing back, and I really realized how, as fabulous a writer she wrote for safety because she wasn't me. And now
Right.
that I took my writing back again, it's much more poignant and a little more edgy. And then at the same time, I took my own quiz to not to get know that I'm a storyteller. I knew that all along, but I'm also really would love to be an entertainer, and I never dared to be. So I hired a coach to help me with that. Somebody probably who does similar work than you do, and working with this Ron Ben Joseph is his name. It just brings out it. We're not My videos aren't that different, but the delivery mechanisms, it's all the same, but there is a shift. And my booked sales calls, which is sort of one of my not very scientific KPIs, um, they have doubled just from those couple of weeks that I've started putting videos out that I've done after working with him, and working on the content as well about and delivery. And I'm like, wow, I mean, that is so amazing just to see that kind of shift that is minimal, but it's with video, it's all that subcontext that people attach themselves to, right? That is not there in the written form, that is only there to a certain degree with a podcast, with an audio only, content. And yes, I mean, drawings and photos and all that is all great, but video just has a power and a emotional subcontext that none of the other
Modalities have. I love
modalities
that. I've
have.
heard of him. Somebody
Oh,
just
really?
mentioned him to me. So I always think, okay, God, are you giving me a sign?
You should get on a call with him. He's a comedian as well, and he's a really really funny, and in a really, I mean, he's good with me, so he doesn't trigger me. I don't, I feel very comfortable, and so works for
Oh,
me.
Nina, thank you for sharing that, because if you could tell your younger self things, right?
Yeah,
Like, I was running around New York City auditioning, and I would be just about to quit, and then I would book something, and I'd be like, "Are you kidding?"
yeah,
And so then I'd keep going, and and finally I just started doing more stand-up comedy and saying no to some of these theater auditions, just because
yeah,
I was like, you know what, I'm having fun with comedy. I can control it more
yep,
than running in for an audition and call
yep,
back and all that stuff. But I always think it's never too late. It's never too late. Like, you can do a one-woman show, or you can do like whatever way you want to express yourself,
yep,
and
yeah,
it
or a
is
TEDx
exciting.
talk or whatever it is,
Yeah.
right? Yeah, I mean, the sky's the limit. But all of this just to say that working with a coach that helps you, like you do your clients, it's just that fine difference between you delivering a text, and that I'm sure is very well crafted, and you thought about your script and all that, but having also the coaching as to what the delivery should be, and what works with your sense of humor, or with your personality, or with your the way your brain functions. I mean, all of that, it just makes that iota of a difference. And if you're going to go through the whole oopala of creating videos, you might as well do it right,
Yes. Yes.
I would say. Yeah.
And get started. I yes, you want to do it right. I'm always trying to up level, but I always say,
Mm,
you can steer a car when it's moving,
yeah.
or you can sit in the parked car and
Part-
pretend. I would rather you get moving, even if you have to do kind of a U-turn. You got moving,
yes.
So
U-turns are just fine. Yeah.
it's sort of like, get started, and of course you want to do it as best you can. And sometimes you won't even know exactly what you need to do until you get started. So
Exactly. I think that's really important, because you will not know what doesn't work unless you've done it. And I think that is really important.
yes. And can I say one more thing? Are we okay?
We have plenty of time. Yeah.
Okay. So my background is theater, and I've done a ton of stand up. And when my coach said, you need to do live video, I was like, oh, no, 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 no. I'm going to batch it out.
Yeah.
Batching out means, you have hair and makeup, and you just change your shirt, maybe
Yeah.
change your hair, and
Yeah.
you say, today I'm talking about, and you do bam, bam, bam.
Do the same
And
thing. Yeah.
and my teacher kept saying, no, no, you have to do live because of the algorithms, and it's more, And I was scared, Nina. I was afraid that I would be doing my thing, and a comic would come by and make fun of me, or somebody from my old restaurant life. Like, I just had this
Yep.
fear of being bullied or made fun of.
Yep.
And so I was, hi. So today we're going to talk about being bold, and I hope you like me. Like, what I was saying was, hi, is this funny? Do you like me? I don't want to be too much of a bother. But
Yep.
my words were like, be bold. Here's how you get confidence. So there was a disconnect with
Yep.
who I was being on camera versus what I was saying.
Yep.
And and thank God we have coaches, right? And so talk about, it wasn't working. And then my mentor told me about how she had been bullied very publicly in a big Facebook group that had thousands. This woman had made fun of her lisp, her lipstick,
Oh,
how
no.
fast she
I
talked. Like,
mean,
it was mean. And my mentor was mortified. She cried and cried and cried, but she handled it with class. And she said, you're right. I do have a lisp that comes out. I do talk quickly. My background is theater and da 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 da. And yeah, sometimes I don't check my lipstick because my commitment is to make a difference. And I'm trying to not focus so much on she handled it with real class. And the lady came back later and apologized. But when she called her mentor, she was like, and her mentor said, that's great.
I know.
That is
It
great
is actually great.
news.
Yeah.
And she was like, but she goes, that means you're on your way. That
Yeah.
means you're being bold and you're standing out. Tony Robbins has critics. Oprah and Gail have critics. They
Yeah.
have the Harry Potter kid admitted that he hasn't been on the internet Googling himself ever because he was smart. He knew that that was not going to be good for him. No cheese in that tunnel, right? And
Yeah.
so, what is your commitment? And so and luckily, knock on wood, I haven't had too many haters, but now I just think, okay, I'm on my way. I'm on
Yeah,
my
but
way.
I
It's
think
a
it's
sign.
a clear sign that you know what it is? It's like, I once said, I don't know what, oh yeah, when I was a student, I was literature student, and I read this one book and I just hated it. I absolutely hated it. But I had to read it. It was on my reading list. So afterwards, I told the professor, I said, hated the book. And he said, great. And I'm like, what do you mean by great? He said, it did elicit a strong emotion. And it doesn't matter whether it's hate or love. A strong emotion is what we want.
Yes.
So, and the other thing is, especially if we keep in mind that we're doing these videos as business owners, and we're giving free samples of what it is that we are doing for our clients.
Right.
If people are not going to like us, great. Don't like us, don't call us, don't work with us, because then we don't want those people in our orbit. We don't want those people poisoning a group and then talking badly and getting other people that love us or at least like us in our groups against. It just, I think it's like a sort of a self-selection tool.
Yes,
The chances
absolutely.
are, if somebody doesn't like my voice, my nose, or my age, or my hair color, or whatever, most likely I'm not going to like them either. So we're saving each other both a lot of time and heartache.
Yes. And, also just, I sometimes it just takes a while to get used to somebody. You know
Hmm.
what I mean? Like, I know I have a big personality, and so sometimes people are like, whoa, but then once they get to know me,
Yep.
and I have a shy side, I have a quieter side, I have a, it kind of depends on what I'm doing. And I think sometimes people just need to get to know, like, and trust us
Yep.
first. And that's why video is so powerful,
Right.
because people can feel the energy.
Yep. Oh, for sure. And I think that psychologically, I remember when I was interviewing people for documentaries, I had learned to start an interview and sort of get sort of the questions that I wasn't interested in out of the way, sort of warm up questions, and then I would actually step away, sometimes for a good half hour, under the pretense of we need to relight and reset, and then I would come back. And this is all pre Zoom, right? But then at this point, people would had psychologically felt like they knew me already, even though I had only been away for half an hour, but I've been away and I come back. So now it's like, oh, here's this woman again. I now know her because I already met her before. And now the interview, then it became interesting. And then I could ask the questions I really wanted to ask.
Oh, I
And
love that.
in a way, Zoom is doing us that favor, that if we do put these videos out, by the time we get a prospect on the phone, on Zoom, or on the phone, I'm saying on the phone, onto Zoom, and they've seen a video or two or maybe more of us, there is this like, oh, I know this person already. I can already
Right.
trust this person. And that is where a video is so brilliant. It just creates that level of trust that you cannot get even with the most amazingly written content or beautiful, photos that you shot of yourself or of something else. It's just
Right.
not the same level of familiarity.
Yeah, I
So,
was gonna say it's the law of familiarity, right?
yeah.
It's the same thing as, like, when Prince died. I was devastated. I never met
Mhm.
the guy. I've never
Mhm.
even been to his concert, but I grew up with his music.
Yeah.
His music was part of my high school, my teenage, and that's. I mean, I'm not saying we all need to be Prince, but
Yeah.
when you see somebody, you get to know, like, and trust them more. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, for sure. So, is there any advice that, like, sort of, is there like a piece of advice that you give people who are still sort of on the fence and nervous about video and that performance piece of video?
Well, I would encourage people to do the why exercise. And it's good to do this
Mhm.
with a buddy and say, okay, so my mission is to help heal the world with love and laughter, one video, one joke, one story at a time. And people will go, well, why? Well, because I know what it's like to not be healed. And I know what it's like to grow up in a really tough environment.
Mhm.
And it's important that people can be healed. Well, why is that important? Because so many people grow up in crazy environments, or maybe they grew up in a great family, but then they marry somebody crazy, or, we have all of these mental health issues. And so, anything we can do to help people heal is powerful and will help make a difference. Well, why? Like, so keep going. Why is that important? And
Mhm.
so that's a great exercise because it gets you in touch with your heart and your gut about what's important to you. And
Okay.
so that helps people come from a place of like, you know what? I am not perfect. My curly hair, you never know what the hell it's going to do, right? But my commitment is to make a difference every day with my work. Maybe I'm just going to make somebody laugh. Maybe I'm going to tell a good story. Maybe I'm going to have the best coaching session with my person later. You know, so if I think about my commitment to make
Mhm.
a difference and to have my life matter, that sparks me, and I'm not so concerned about, oh my god, my hair's still wet, oh, is it frizzing, oh wow, look at the wrinkles on my neck, oh my god, can they tell I'm 54, oh she's too, like,
Yeah.
there's always going to be that's always going to be, I spent a lot of money trying to get rid of that voice, but I've
Yep.
learned ways to turn it down. And then when I think about, I want to use my story for good, Nina. I don't have kids, but I want to leave a legacy of
Yep.
healing and love and laughter everywhere I go. And I've got some work to do,
Yeah. Yeah.
I'm
Roll
not
up your sleeves.
I'm not done yet, right? And there's so many queenagers,
Queenagers. Yes.
teenagers, right? That need my help.
Yeah.
And so when I can get really in touch with that, all the other, yeah, I've got wrinkle. You know what? If that turns you off, then we're not meant to be. But maybe you want to come hang out with me and
Exactly.
figure it out. Yeah.
Exactly. Yeah. And I
So
think that is the key is the self-selection tool. Sorry, the self-selection tool, right? Yeah.
yes. And then I would say my other thing is like, get a video buddy. Maybe this is the same buddy that's your Y buddy, and do it for yourself. And you can say, okay, I'm going to make you, there's Marco Polo is a great app. You can just send each other videos. You can say, I'm getting used to seeing how I look on camera. Okay, I'm never going to wear this color again. Oh my God. So I'm going to tell you about, I flew in from Dallas yesterday. And, just tell a quick story, or
Yeah.
talk about why you love martinis, or why you love travel, and get used to, this is how I look.
Yeah.
This is how I look. This is how I sound. Is there something I really want to change? Okay, but I'm going to keep practicing. And I swear to God, if you do this 5 days in a row with your video buddy back and forth, you will be a different person.
Yep, for sure. I love the idea of a video buddy to have that accountability and the support and the fun of doing it together and not by yourself. Yeah.
Yeah. So I would say those two things.
Wonderful. That's really great. Elaine, if people are looking to reach out to you, where should they go?
Oh, thank you. Thank you for the question. So I have a confidence on camera checklist at captivatethecrowd.com. So at captivatethecrowd.com, you can sign up and you'll get the confidence on camera checklist. And then you'll be automatically invited to I do master classes once a month, but not in August. I do all kinds of community building things, and that way we can stay connected. And that's really the best way to get connected. So you can come if I'm speaking, and it's a great way to just stay in touch with what I'm up to. And I would also love to know, like, what are you up to? What's your dream? How's your business going? I love to talk to people. I answer the emails myself.
Awesome. So it's captivatethecrowd.com
Yes.
and it's for your confidence on camera checklist.
Yes, because there's so much to think about, right? The light,
No, no.
did I turn off the phone? Where's the dog? Is the dog going to bark? Right? There's just life. We're shooting at
Yep.
our homes, which is fine, but it just gives you a checklist to help remember to breathe and do a little warm up. And is the light coming towards my face? And all of that. It's all in one
All
place.
of that
So
beautiful stuff. Yep. Yep. Awesome. I put that into the chat. It should show up on all three platforms. So if not, I'll double check it and make sure it's there. Thank you so much for sharing so generously your time and more importantly, your knowledge. And thanks for being a fantastic and interesting guest
oh,
on Real Talk with Nina.
thank you, Nina. Thanks for having me.
And we look forward to having some really cool micro content from this conversation, which we'll share on social media as well. So that'll be the next step. All right, everybody. Thank you so much for joining us today. And I'll be back in about a month with another interesting video centric guest. And I hope you're all having a great summer and staying cool wherever you are. Take care. Bye bye. Now I have to.